well. Okay, so let us begin. It's 3:06. Maybe Remy, if you could go to the next slide. Okay, so what is a good space? Well, a good space, actually, we are just a group of ordinary people who care about different social issues in Singapore. And we recently became Singapore's first cooperative to gather diverse change makers to collaborate and create change together. Many of our members are here today, either as speakers, as note takers, or facilitators, and many of our friends are here as well. We actually believe that social issues are not single issues, but actually they are interconnected. And I think we are starting to see this through COVID-19. It's really shown a lens on this. So we want to come together to learn from one another and also create more meaningful social projects, because I think together we can really do more. This is the first of our Lived Intersection series, where we hope to host this kind of sessions maybe once every 2 months to explore how these different social issues are interconnected and what we can do as concerned citizens. So today we are looking at the intersections of mental health with 5 different communities where these intersections are rarely or may not necessarily be commonly discussed. And through this, we also want to hear from members of the communities themselves, because we believe that they are the experts of their own lives. So today we have migrant brothers, we have sisters who are domestic workers, we have folks from the deaf community, the transgender community. So it's really a very precious space for all of us to just be in this space with them and to hear their stories. Maybe next slide. Yeah, so for today, we just have 3 parts to this event. The first part, which will happen after this short introduction, I will pass it on to our main facilitator, Douglas, who will introduce himself and also introduce some of the wonderful speakers and wonderful human beings that we have on the call today. We will then have an opportunity to go into a breakout rooms based on the choices that you've made. And this will be kind of like a 60-minute space that we have for us to listen and learn more about our speakers and their stories, and also how their communities experience different aspects of mental health and mental well-being. And then we have a space at the end to come back together as a big group again to explore what are some of the similarities and differences from which these different communities experience mental health and mental well-being. And today, actually, really, I feel we gather for 3 purposes. One is to really listen to the different emotions and lived experiences from our speakers. And hopefully we can also understand what are some of the concerns faced by the wider communities that they are a part of. And hopefully we can also learn how can we better support these communities. So with that, I will pass the time on to our main moderator, Douglas, who will take us through the next part and the rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vincent. I don't know about you, but every time I listen to Vincent speak, I feel more relaxed and more inspired by the possibilities, right? I don't know if he has that effect on you, but it's pretty interesting to have both of those relaxed and inspired happening at the same time, Vincent. It's a gift you bring to all of us. Thanks. And I echo that this is, we all have so many things we could be doing this afternoon, and here we are. I think that's a gift we give to each other in whatever capacity you're here. And I think it's actually also a pretty wise choice, because we get 5 sessions in one, like 5 for the price of 1, right? Because we're going to get to learn from a lot of different things, which is a pretty cool thing. One quick thing to say is that for those of you who are registered for the event, the number one question or reason for signing up was to understand the different communities. And I think I would call that part 1. And I'd like us all to think about part 2 as we go through the next couple of hours. In my mind, part 2 is then, how do we get those messages out into the community? So I'm originally from New York. I came here to visit 30 years ago, and I'm still here. And I've worked with many, many different organizations, from Aware, Menducky, and Beyond Social Services, and all different organizations. And I also worked in the government, in the public service for the last 10 years. And I think it's really nice then to be able to take the voices and get them out into the system. And I have to say, as a Caucasian, as an Angmo, I guess I'm the opposite of a marginalized community, which I also think is unfortunate in many ways. And it's also an opportunity to share in a way that sometimes people don't have that capability. So wherever you are in society, let's think about how can we understand, better understand all the challenges and what we can do for all the communities, and then how do we get that, how do we amplify those voices and ideas, and what can we do out into the system. So sorry, one last thing, because I'm looking at Tassi's on my screen, and when we had a call a couple weeks ago, he was telling us that one thing that the migrant workers really appreciate is when a Singaporean asks for their name. And I often talk to migrant workers, but I don't often ask them their name. So when he told me that, I'm like, wow, okay, if it makes that much difference. So ever since then, I do that, and it makes a difference. So whether it's a little thing like that, whether it's a big thing like a policy change that you would like to put out into the space, let's do that, understanding and amplifying. All right. So that's a quick overview of what we're going to do. So we're going to hear from, we're going to have 5 minutes each for each of the communities to share a little bit about what's happening for them. And just so you don't get jarred, they all know they have 5 minutes. And if it runs to 5 minutes, they're going to get a very loving chime just to wrap up the last piece so that we have time for everyone. Okay. So yeah, welcome everyone for this lovely afternoon we're going to spend together. And we're going to turn it over to the first group. So the deaf community, the 5 minutes is over to you.
Hello, everybody. Hi,
Hi,
my name
Daniel.
is Lily Go. I'm deaf. As you can see, I have a cockatiel here. Its name is Lemon. Yeah. So one of the So I bought it about 3 to 4 months ago, last July. And the reason why I got it was because around that time I started feeling a little bit more depressed because of the whole COVID-19 pandemic, right? And it really impacted my life. So I decided to buy Lemon to help me get through the difficult times. Yeah. Basically to act as my companion. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. So I am Lily Go. Sorry. Sorry, I think I was spotlight, so I have to find the interpreter. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay, yeah. So hi, I'm sorry. Let's start again. My name is Lily. I'm deaf. And I am since the age of 2, I found out I was deaf, and until today, my parents don't know the reason I became deaf. So I first joined a deaf school and primary school. Uh, I didn't join a deaf school, so I had to really learn to interact with hearing people, trying to learn how to interact with others, not with sign language. But since then, I have now starting to I set up my own social enterprise to raise awareness about deaf issues and deaf culture, and now I've been teaching sign language online. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah.
Anything else to share, Lily? Yeah.
I think, the whole COVID-19 pandemic just really impacted everybody's life, especially a lot of the um, like social interactions. For me also, as a deaf person, everyone's wearing masks. It's really hard. It's really a communication barrier, and I really hate that. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And, wow, yeah. So anything that those of us can do to help with that? I mean, without breaking the law, without getting uh, you know, without getting scolded by an ambassador?
Well, there are many different ways to communicate with deaf people, even if you're wearing masks. If you still are wearing one, right? You can always use pen and paper to help each understand each other, or everybody has a phone, right? So you can always text on your phone to communicate with each other. Yeah, so there are many different easier ways to communicate also.
Okay, great.
Or another way is to use, you know how everything moved online, right? You could use like FaceTime or something, or a video call, right? And you could remove your mask if you're at home, right?
Okay.
The reason why just sign language users really depend on visual cues, facial expressions, and body language. So using Zoom or FaceTime or anything else with video or technology-enabled tools can really help. Yeah.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Lily, and thanks, Daniel. And later, Lily, be sure to let us know about your social enterprise, okay? And so we can spread the word. Thanks. All right, thanks for getting us started. Yes, I think we should do that. And everybody knows how to clap. And great, and the bird too. Yes. All right, thanks for getting us all started. So next we'll hear from the migrant worker group. So Tas, Bing, over to you two. You got your 5 minutes. Thanks for being
Just
here.
go ahead first.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Bing Navato. So I'm a domestic worker here in Singapore for 25 years. So, I'm a volunteer with Home. It is an NGO that helps migrant workers here in Singapore. So aside from being a domestic worker, as part of Home, I'm giving advices to my fellow domestic workers when they encounter problems with their works, with their employers, or with their agencies. So aside from that, I also into poetry, and I'm also a volunteer at National Gallery Singapore. Yeah, so those are the things I do on my off days. So yeah, it's your time now, Task.
Thank you, Ving. Hello, everyone. This is Tas, and my full name is Tashrif Ahmed. I'm a migrant worker here, and I'm from Bangladesh. So, few years ago, when I relocate myself in Singapore, I was start feeling very lonely because of I have almost nobody in my surrounding, like no friends, no family. So I start feeling lonely, and then just because of I am a volunteer myself. I started volunteer when I was so young in my back home. So I find some way to spend my free times with volunteering. So I've started volunteering with HealthServe. As many of know, I believe HealthServe is a community clinic who serve only the migrant workers in Singapore. HealthServe has three clinics here. They operate in three different places. So I have been there as a clinic assistant, and mostly I do the translation part. I do the translation in between the patients and the doctor to understand more and better in terms of their all the problems. Yes. And apart from HealthServe, I run with my friends a migrant worker ground up movement called Sama. So last year I was coordinating the movement's exhibition part in Singapore. It was a very great journey, and Sama wants to redefine the narratives of migrant worker who are staying in Singapore. Like all walks of life in Singapore, the migrant workers are not really lonely in Singapore. So we're trying to bridge the gap and doing so on. So thank you everyone for joining here. And I'm looking forward to share my experiences, my ground experiences, and some of the challenges we're facing nowadays in Singapore. And I hope who are willing to join the migrant worker session, I'll be there. And during this pandemic, actually, we have trained up numbers of migrant worker like ambassadors. We provide them a basic psychological first aider training to help and support and look after our migrant brothers who are in our surrounding, so that like people's who we follow most of the time, like supervisor, safety supervisor levels. So we collaborated this session with psychosocial community in Singapore, and we provided that first aider training so that we can support a little bit on migrant workers' health issue for our migrant brothers. That's all. And thank you so much for having me here.
Amazing, Tasa. I think all that's happened. And maybe Bing, which we have a minute. So I think there's been a bit more attention on the migrant workers, unfortunately, because of COVID. But I think from the domestic helpers perspective, Bing, can you just give a minute about what that's been like for many of the people, for you and the many people that you serve?
Okay, for domestic workers, especially this current situation that we're in now, yeah, it's true that the government, I think, put more attention to foreign workers but I think they forget about the domestic workers. Because I remember my employer was telling me the other day when we talked about this situation, like how it is more difficult for domestic workers to be locked inside the house with their, with their employers. Because I think most of you, even though it is lockdown or circuit breaker last time, I mean, you're in your own house without your employers. But for us, we're still working. Our employers can still see us, That's why many domestic workers were really depressed or stressed. They didn't know what to do, and most of them cannot even go out. And especially when, even until now, there are still many domestic workers who cannot go out because I think their employers are worried that they might catch the virus out there when they go out. So I still have some domestic workers called me they are not allowed to go outside their place. Some of them still stay here in the condo. I have friends here. Yeah, because employers are really afraid.
Great.
So yeah, I hope we can really talk about this and people will understand more about the situation of domestic workers.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I'm assuming that most of you are listening to this and you hear the deaf community sharing about Lily and oh, that would be nice to hear more. And now migrant worker, oh, it'd be nice to hear that one. So I think a little session envy, but we'll trust you all go to the sessions that will serve your soul and learn what you need to learn today. So thank you so much to the two of you, Bing and Tas. And now we're over to hear a little bit about the group that's talking about environment issues. So Ihan, I guess, is that you're going to do the sharing on that? And Edwin?
Yes,
and,
myself and Edwin.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Douglas. Is the rain in the background too loud? Okay, guess it's all right. Yes, so Evan and I guess we are representing the eco community. We are both basically concerned about what's going on our planet Earth with the devastation of Mother Nature and things like increasing pollution and the climate crisis. So for us, we are also part of this community called Mother Earth Toastmasters Club, which tries to empower people to express ourselves more authentically and to listen to others so we can engage on conversations like these about critical issues. And yeah, for myself, I'm very humbled to be in the presence of this panel because there's so much rich lived experiences that everyone is sharing. For I guess the eco people, it's not so much something that is an individual burden, but we see it as a collective one. So for my session, it will be not so much me sharing or Evan sharing, but every one of us sharing what each of us are going through. And for me also, just to kick off one of the questions on the slide, how have I been taking care of myself? What's really important for me is getting out into nature, especially with all these Zoom calls. It's really at some point Zoom fatigue. So I go, like this morning I was out in my community garden and meeting people, being out in the sun, looking at the butterflies. Yeah, that really calms me down. So I'll hand over now to Evan for his introduction. Evan, please.
Hello, everyone. Really nice to be here. I don't have much to add from what Yihan has said, except that nature provides this wonderful opportunity for us all to experience joy. And that's something we can experience regardless of how much money we earn. We can all enjoy the sunrise. It's not to do with how much money and membership costs to go out and enjoy nature. And just this morning, I chanced upon a group of otters, and every demographic you can imagine was smiling while watching these animals. So I guess my sort of concern in terms of mental health here is that we're spending far more time on these things than we do outside in nature. And I guess one of my sort of small life missions is to encourage as many people as possible to experience the joy that nature gives me every single day. So looking forward to talking about that later for anyone in our breakout group.
Wonderful. Would you two say that unintended consequence, positively so, of this last few months has been the parks are more crowded than ever because people cannot travel? Is that fair? Or are you seeing that?
No, they definitely are, which I guess has some pros and cons, but it's wonderful that people are connecting more. I mean, one of the things that people really seemed to pick up on was the lack of maintenance that was done around HDBs and things, where grass cutting was stopped for a few months and everyone was posting butterflies and saying, oh, wow, look at all the wildlife here. So kind of back to where we were on that with a lot more maintenance, but that was a really good thing to see, that people were noticing those sort of little moments of joy that you can get every day.
Yeah, that was really brilliant, right? When everything really grew out, it was so lovely. Yeah. And by the way, I did quite a big project with NParks a few years ago, and I found out inside NParks, you have half the group that really wants to protect the biodiversity. And they're like, don't let many people come. They're going to ruin all the plants and the biodiversity. And of course, the other people are like, the parks are there. We want people to get out of their phones and out of the buildings and come to the park. So it's some interesting polarity on that. So thanks, guys. That's going to be another interesting group for those of you who have chosen that. So the next one, let's hear from the trans community.
Hello, everyone.
Shafika and Aaron, yes. Okay, so thanks over to you all for the trans community. Share what's happening with you all.
Oh, it's me, right?
Ellie, yes. Ellie, sorry.
It's all right. Firstly, I want to say thank you for inviting me here. as well as I wrote down a lot of notes so that I don't get confused. So yeah, thank you for the organizers for inviting me. And also, sorry, a bit nervous. Okay, so and also thank you for everyone else in the deaf community and all the other associations because of the good work that you're doing. And thank you for Daniel for translating for me. All right. And also thank you to the audience for taking time to actually coming to know. And actually, very big surprise to see some of y'all put he, she, they, them, or the pronouns that y'all prefer to have. And it's actually very heartwarming. All right. And the thing is that, okay, y'all know most of the jargon already. So don't have to say too much. My name is Elle. All right. My pronouns are she and her. I'm 36 years old. I'm married to my wife and partner, Melissa. Same person. Wife and partner is the same person. I'm facilitating this group called YOU. It is a queer LGBTQIA plus interfaith peer support group. And also, personally, I'm a optician. I sell glasses, right? So I'm just gonna rapid fire through all the questions. How am I? I'm very, very nervous. I have social anxiety as well as dysphoria from self-appearance. All right. So a lot of it is me. All right. But I'm just that's why I flip my hair because I am very self-conscious. But what am I looking forward to? To meet the people. All right. Interested, right? It's very, very heartwarming to see so many people want to know the minorities, not just the trans community, but everyone else as well, all right? And as well to say hi to the organizers and the friends, you know, I have known some of y'all here. Thank you for those who attended, who is attending this because of moral support for me as well. What am I most concerned right now? A lot of things, but mostly the impact of COVID this year and how it affects queer people, right? Especially trans people. Yeah, right. So yeah, we'll get more into it in the breakout room. Um, Things that don't people might not know about the community. The trans community in Singapore is a rather old community. It's around 2 or 3 generations in, even more than that sometimes. All right. Also, I don't know if you all know, but if you all do raise your hands, if it's do you all know that you're legally able to change your gender marker on your IC in Singapore. All right. If you know that, then yeah, thank you. Bugis culture, Bugis Junction. Bugis culture has 5 genders. Okay, sorry, all these very little to do with mental health. But actually, more than anything, I think I want to think that there is actually a non-binary wave of Singaporeans coming, not just trans women and trans men, but also the non-binary, the asexual, the agender, the bigender, right? And we're all coming forward to actually support one another. Also, I guess to a lot of people who don't know this, the gender clinic actually reopened after a long time of closure. So this is something that is worth celebrating, especially in relation to mental health. Yep. Yep. Thank you. That's all.
Thanks, Elle. I mean, thanks so much for your openness and sharing, your anxiety, and yet your authenticity and, you know, is really beautiful. And yeah, we're all here to support you. That's why you're right. That is why you're here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. And then the last group, which is the invisible conditions. So, which is going to be Sherry and Shafika. Sorry, I said that got that mixed up before, but Sherry and Shafika, over to you.
Hi everyone, thank you for a good space for having me and all the friends and audience here and our fellow speakers. So my name is Sherry. I've been living with vasculitis, which is an autoimmune disease for the past 20 years. So an autoimmune disease is when your immune system kind of attacks your body. And so I'm on lifelong medications, and that also is really to suppress the overactive immune system. So during this COVID-19, so which means that those of us who take these medications are actually immunocompromised, which means we have a lowered immune system, even though I may not look like it. So I think when COVID-19 really started, there was a lot of heightened anxiety and fear in my community, and for myself, even paranoia for a little bit of time when my husband was going out to work, and I was like, who are you meeting? Like, do you take a mask when you're eating? Do you like when you drink, like when you talk to your colleagues, like, are you drinking everything down your mask? So yeah, there was a period of time that was it was quite anxious. But I also realized that, and I've also realized that when you do something meaningful for others, it really takes your mind off the anxiety. So besides autoimmune diseases Singapore, I also run a volunteering group called Behind SG. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, we did quite a lot of community projects, and I guess I didn't think of it at that time, but like now that I look back, I think it has really helped to kind of stop the anxiety, because you were not thinking about your disease, what's going to happen anymore, and you were just doing maybe things for other people, so it makes you busy and all that. As I think for some of the community, I wouldn't speak for all, but I know that there are some people who really isolated themselves because they have to restrict themselves to a very small circle of people. I think even up till now, yeah, I mean, depending on the person, yeah, so that then that really brings about the severe mental health concerns. Yeah.
Right.
I will pass it over to Shafika.
Thanks, Sherry.
Thanks, Sherry. Hi, I'm Shafika. I go by the pronouns she and her, and I'm representing Aphasia SG in the invisible disability part of this panel. So aphasia is a language impairment caused by a stroke or brain injury. So I had a stroke, so then I was diagnosed with aphasia just last year. So Aphasia SG is a really great organization that helps people with aphasia, and they have this really helpful program called Chit Chat Cafe, where people with aphasia can just practice their communication and speaking with other people of aphasia. So there's no judgment, and we just can be kind of free to practice our speech, and it's great. So previously I was a participant, and then after I recovered and my speech got better, so now I'm a volunteer with them. So now I facilitate the conversations with other people, people with aphasia. So I think one thing that people wouldn't know about people with aphasia in terms of mental health, 93% of persons with aphasia suffer from psychological distress and depression within the first 6 months of being diagnosed with aphasia. So that's a really high number. So I'm also, and then that's just that part. And just generally about this panel, I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to hearing from all the different communities, and I wish I could clone myself and I can insert myself into the different breakout rooms because I want to listen as well. But unfortunately I can't, we will group back together in the main room and hopefully.
Yes,
we
will all come back. Thanks, Shafika. And I'm going to say this to the two of you, but also to everyone, please, and I mentioned it to Lily, please make sure that any like community resources that you think should be shared, let's get them out into the space or sent up as a follow-up. I have 2 guys in my block where I stay in Woodlands that have had strokes in the last year, and I think they're struggling, and I'm not sure whether they're getting help or not. And I think one guy maybe is and the other guy's not, so I'm sure others might be in that situation where we can reach out. So please, everyone, anybody that has resources for to be shared, let's please do that so we can take care of each other. I just really want to acknowledge the speakers that we just heard from. I think, you all have had your own challenges and you've risen above that to help, communities. And I think it's, really amazing. So just dealing with your own things, but then reaching out and making life better for other people. I do agree with Sherry. I think there is something about giving back that has a good feeling to it. And somehow you've got over that hump and doing it. So really kudos, I think, to all of you. It's quite amazing. Okay, so as Shafika said, we are going to go into the breakout rooms, and we will come back within an hour or so. And again, moderators, when you come back, to give us a quick, one or two insights that came out of that for all of us, so we all can learn from each other. And then we'll do an ending panel. So thanks everyone. And I think Vincent is going to send us all to the breakouts. Have a wonderful conversation, learn as much as you can from each other, share. It's a very sacred space. Okay, I think I didn't keep track of the time, but I think the 5 minutes is up. And welcome back, everyone. And this is a very exciting time to hear what happened in each of the rooms. And then we open it up to some of the common ground and some of the things that we can do. So if we follow through the same sequence, we start with the deaf community. So Daniel, can you share one or two of the insights that out of the room that you think the rest of us would be nice for us to hear? That would be great. Thank you.
Tina is the moderator, so she will be speaking.
Oh, sorry, Tina. Sorry, so I'm looking at the wrong thing. Yes, Tina, over to you.
No worries. Hi, hello. I'm Tina. I was a moderator for the deaf community. So in the room, I shared with us what is the importance of how has the COVID affected all of us, especially me. So she was just sharing that many of the deaf community affected because the hearing community, they will be wearing the mask. So when you wear the mask, the lip is being covered, expression of the face is being covered. It's very difficult to read the expression and not understand what they are saying because of the mask. And because of this whole COVID situation, everybody is wearing masks. So it has been a very difficult time trying to understand what the other person is speaking. So they had to resort to even writing or even typing on the phone, but not many people are willing to do that. And most of the time, she has given up on communicating when they are not willing to adapt to that. So that was one difficult part. The next one also, there were a lot of social isolation. So when I asked Nini, actually before the COVID, social isolation already exists because due to the communication that were not able to, it wasn't able to communicate with the deaf community and the hearing community. So it was very difficult to communicate. So it led to social isolation. And even because of COVID, it became even worse because they are forced to stay home. They even cannot communicate with their own community, within the deaf community. So it becomes more difficult. And because of that, it affected a lot of them mental state, whether they will feel a lot of them face more depression and unable to really become happy. So that was one. And Nini also shared a few situations that she has faced. She faced this ableism. She shared about ableism where people will look only at the ear and the hearing loss, which is something that she got very tired of, especially when everybody keep asking the same question over and over again that only related to the hearing loss, but she is trying to get people to look at the overall, not just only on the ears. Yeah, so that was something, some solutions that I feel in general about the deaf community. And what are some of the learning point is that she said that it's important for everyone to keep an open mind. That is, everybody should keep an open mind and be more understanding. And if they can put themselves in the deaf person's shoes, in fact, it's not just only for the deaf, but across all the abilities. To put themselves in the shoes of the other person so that they can understand better of what the other person require or how can they help the other person through putting themselves in the other person's shoes. This is something that is a very good point that was brought up by Mimi. That's all for the sharing of the room.
Thanks, Tina. It is sad. I saw somebody put that in, and it's a bit of a surprise why people wouldn't like write a note, right? Like I work in civil service college. We have a forward coffee on the first level. So we have a few folks who work there that are deaf, and they keep a pad of paper and a pen, and that people can write notes, and it seems to be working quite well. So yeah, I think we need to build some empathy around here. And I don't know if you all have this question, but it's a question I ask myself a lot. When you have a visible disability, if you're not careful, like I have a good friend of mine who's visually impaired, and his whole identity becomes about being visually impaired. Like it kind of overwhelms everything else, similar to the deaf. And then on the other hand, we have people here with invisible conditions that everybody thinks is normal, but it may not be. So we have a lot to learn here, folks, right? And to spread across society. So thanks, Tina, for getting that going. So we move on to the second group, migrant workers. So Nicole, what happened in your room?
I just want to apologize in advance. I have a crying baby in my living room, my cousin. So if you hear it, I'm very sorry. So actually just building off the point that you just had, Doug. So I think one of the first things that was brought up in our room was the fact that a lot of people forget to see migrant workers, both domestic workers and male migrant workers, as human. So something Tas said was when he introduces himself, he says, "Hi, my name is Tas. I'm a human being."
Nice.
It's just like a nice grounding reminder, because it's so easy to forget, like when they're just here for work, or when people think they're just here for work, that's all that they are. Yeah, so we had a really good sharing. It was really nice to hear about, well, not nice to hear about, it's really good to hear about all the different issues and kind of shedding a light on the very different but equally important issues that the two different communities face. So the migrant workers versus domestic workers. So they do have quite different issues. So Bing was telling us a bit about employer issues, especially those faced by her members of her community, such as physical abuse, verbal abuse, just a lot of issues with lack of privacy, employers lying to them about whether they can be off, and them just feeling very controlled. And similarly, Tas was talking about the different issues he faced. I mean, with them, they had a lot more salary issues, living conditions, food, and just not being able to interact, which is something that I think that they will share. Not being able to go out during this COVID-19 period is definitely a big impact on everybody's mental well-being. Oh, dog and baby, wonderful.
It's okay. It's lovely background noise. Yes.
Yeah, so I think a good point that was brought up, not necessarily that migrant worker issues are not important, but the fact that domestic workers had their issues kind of ignored a lot during this time. A lot of the focus in the media and everything was on the migrant workers and not so much on domestic workers. So something that's been shared before and was kind of talked about during this breakout room as well was that they really have no sense of privacy. Like sometimes people, their employers are filming them. They might not have a room even to sleep and not even a bed to sleep on.
Right.
And things like that. Yeah, things that were kind of ignored because everybody got so focused on all the cases in the dorms. And a great highlight that we had was that Bing shared a poem with us. So if you have time, maybe we can let her share it again. It was really, really very emotional and really, really shone a light on the issues that are faced and how she felt about them and how her community faced. Yeah.
Raise your hand if you want to hear a poem from Bing. Okay, I think
we can spend the rest of my sharing time on that poem if that
no,
helps.
I still have another question for you, but go ahead, Bing. Thank you for sharing.
So I will recite my poem.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've said earlier, this is a poem I've written like on my first year of volunteering as a help desk with home.
Okay.
And yeah, so this is the cry of the hidden. This is for you. You should start to listen, not just to my words, but to the cry of the hidden, to remind you that we are all human beings, forbidden of our rights, treated like we are nothing. I believe that we all came here with one goal, to provide for our families, help them when they call. But here's a story of one migrant here, waiting to be heard, her eyes always in tears. I applied for the job, full of hope and confidence, never knowing that my decision would cost my independence. They have a nice house and nice people that I can see, but sometimes I know somebody's watching me. With cameras around the house, every move is seen, even in my room to change clothes. I'm not all keen. My rest day is forbidden. When I make a mistake, I'm not forgiven. Sometimes a punch in my back or a slap on my face. When I cry, they will shout at me so loud that it will break the face. When I'm sick, there is no sick leave. No matter how bad I feel, they won't even believe. Food for me is limited. Talking to others is prohibited. A cell phone is not allowed. When I get caught, they will shame me to the crowd. But still, I work with determination, with my family as my inspiration. I tried not to complain, to avoid termination, but no matter what I do, my fate is still my employer's decision. I know not every domestic worker is like me. Not employers might as good as can be. But I'm one of the hidden that you can't see or hear. All I need is your help. Please get me out of here. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thanks. Thanks, Bing.
that's a real experience
Yeah.
of domestic workers.
Many people, yeah. So let's do what we can. And just to also say, because one of the things about also on the migrant workers that I would also ask everyone here to share. I think the government at this point and most people in Singapore think that it's all about having bigger dorms, you know, and more space. And I think if we got Tass or anyone here to share, that is not anywhere in their top priorities. Yes, would it be nice to have more space in the dorm, but there's all kinds of other things around pay, ability to move, agents, healthcare that are much more important than that. So please, when you hear anyone talk about, oh yeah, we're going to get them bigger dorms, please make sure they know that that's only the superficial compared to some of the other issues. And on a lighter note, Tass, can I borrow your line? Because, you know, everywhere I go, I'm just like the Ang Mo guy, which sometimes I find very discouraging. So, and my wife, also my wife is known in our neighborhood as the Ang Mo's wife, you know, which isn't that terrible? So, so I'm going to say I'm Douglas and I'm a human being. So, and anyone, please feel free to use that if it's ever helpful. All right, so we're on to the environmental concerns. So, Evan, over to you. What was some of the highlights in your room to bring out to all of us?
Thank you. It's hard to follow that really moving poem, actually. Still feeling quite emotional from that. So we had a really good discussion. I'm just going to share sort of 3 kind of anxieties, stroke sort of positives that came out of our chat. So one was this idea of sort of being very aware of the environmental issues and what life can be like for the next sort of generations, and to the point where several of the people in our group sort of said they're not sure if they want to have children or they don't want to have children. And for me, that's an incredibly sad state of affairs, that people are making that decision based on the the fear of, or the anxiety in terms of what's happening with our environment. We didn't really get much chance to discuss this, but my counter when people have this fear is always that I think now more than ever we need really good people being brought into the world. So yes, another person being brought into the world is another mouth to feed, and we do have probably an overpopulation problem coming, but at the same time, if you're environmentally aware and you can encourage your children to do good in the world, then I would say that's the perfect antidote to that fear. Another sort of thing we talked about was that Singapore is very clean and green, and we can't really see the problems that we cause in terms of the way we live. So someone mentioned that they visited a landfill site in another country, and to actually see massive piles of waste, the stink, and just the mess and the blight on your on the aesthetics of the environment is not something we experience here. So it makes it probably a little bit easier to just use that extra bit of plastic, to throw that extra thing away. So I think that's something to remind ourselves of, and to always take the chance to visit such places. There is a landfill site in Singapore, in one of the southern islands, Palau Simacau, which MPark's probably not at the moment, but you can arrange visits there, and I'd really recommend it. So that's quite an interesting thing to experience. And then the last one I'll share is that we talked quite a lot about burnout. So people sort of, trying to do their bit, but eventually getting worn down by sort of bigger issues that we see, and how you keep going. And again, my kind of answer to that would be to also look at the joy you can get from nature too. So sure, it can be sometimes inconvenient to do your bit. Always remember your reusable bags, to maybe go without air conditioning when possible. But yeah, go see the sunrise, go wake up and see the sunrise, and guaranteed you will feel better about the world you're trying to make a slightly better place. So thank you to all the attendees in that workshop. It was really interesting and really honest. I'm not sure if Hannah has anything to add.
Thanks, Evan. I thought that, I don't know about you all, but I think it's a really wonderful reminder. I think many of us do our best to be environmentally conscious. And I think the great reminder from Evan and Ihan is we can spend just as much time, if not more time, appreciating nature, doing this, going to see sunrise and hugging a tree, thanking the trees and the plants, and doing whatever it takes, to get to spend time in nature and get that feeling. So it's not just about we have to save the planet, which of course is a terrible phrase. We're not saving the planet, we're saving ourselves and some of the planet, but we can also really appreciate what we have on this beautiful planet. And Evan, thanks for bringing up Bing's poem. Bing, if you're comfortable sharing that poem, can you send it to Tiffany, and maybe we can send it out after as part of the email, if you're comfortable to do that. If you're not, it's okay, but and you can let us know afterwards, or into the chat, even if it's convenient for you. Okay.
Yeah, I will share.
All right, so in the trans community, Nadia, why don't you share what's happened over there?
All right. In the breakout room for the trans community, we talk about how to subtly approach the transgender people for their names and their pronouns. And the easiest way to go about is to show your rainbow. Yeah, whether you're an ally, whether you're a pride, whether you're support. Yeah, because the rainbow always breaks the ice very easily. So yeah, And we talk about dysphoria. We talk about how to be more trans-friendly in the workplace and in school, and how to subtly come out to family and friends, and also like and those who are still closeted, are we still true to ourselves, or are we like lying to ourselves? So those are the few topics that we talk about, and we actually didn't have enough time to talk about everything. So yeah.
That's okay. Well, there'll be more sessions. And well, speaking of that, so in case you didn't see this, so you can we got these from Changi Village, but they're beautiful rainbow masks. So, but I've heard you can get them at and other places as well, like on, I don't know, Lazada or Shopee or something like that. So thanks, Nadia. And one little tip I heard when I was in that room was if we meet somebody we're not sure about the pronoun, actually just say, what is your pronoun instead of what is your preferred pronoun? A little bit subtle, but a little bit more respectful. So these are the things that we're learning here today, which is quite nice. All right, thanks, Nadia. And then from Invisible Conditions, so Siwei, over to you.
Yes, that's me here. And hi, everyone. I'm Siwei. So what I learned from Sherry and Shafika is really both invisible conditions is because we can't see what's happening, and often a little bit different from what those with visible is that that they have to do a lot of explanation. Sometimes they have a lot of internal conflict and worries and anxiety. I think Sherry was sharing that how sometimes when she sit on MRT, the reserved seat, just because she has ulcers under her feet and she really needs the seat, and she in her head she'll be thinking, oh, will people take a picture of me because I'm not giving up that space, but she herself needs it as well. And how Shafika was sharing that when she had aphasia, when she went to order food, she was rehearsing for the food in her head. And when she, I think it was staff, and when she was about to order, the lady was telling her the food that she wanted is all not available. She needs, on the spot, she needs to pick new vegetables, new menu altogether. And she was just hoping that someone could hand her a menu so that she can just point. And on top of that, there was a line behind her, and she could see in the expression of the person that was serving her, slightly impatient. Because aphasia, you can't see the communication difficulties. So what both of them would hope for is that always be patient, give time, and do not judge someone. Yeah, do not judge someone because of the no one know the difficulties that they are facing. Yeah. And another point is that I think Sherry brought out is to be aware of different people around, and be aware of the even like their own condition. Yeah. And I think one thing that struck me in the sharing as well is that actually pre-COVID, all this issue has been there. Once someone with invisible condition, they actually have loss of identity. They especially both of them in the group sharing very honest, when they have that condition, they were very young. They've planned out so many things ahead, but they just couldn't continue anymore, and things have to change along the way. And there were anxiety does happen, like there are issues with employment. People with aphasia couldn't get a job, and people with autoimmune disease, they have a job, but they often, because of their illness, sometimes they walk slower, they may do things a bit slower. They're always worried that they're being judged. And at times it's also they will be worried about the relationship with the family, so they have a big plans ahead, and then they will start, sometimes family who cannot really understand, they'll think that, oh, so today will you be tired and not wanting to join in again. Questions like this, it's not something that they want. But we really, what I learned is that we really need to be more understanding of all these conditions that are around us. And both aphasia and autoimmune disease are as autoimmune disease are actually at a rise, but more and more people are getting it. And for stroke, about 20% of stroke survivors actually have aphasia, and these two conditions impact them for a long time, for a lifetime. So I think the key point is that yeah, like what Jeannie said, people should not feel guilty for being sick. In fact, all of us should be able to include them in the society, be more understanding, be more patient, be more aware. Yeah, and more importantly, do not judge. I think that's what I learned from the group.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know how you all feel, but it's like some combination of sadness, you know, that some of these issues that we face are much more challenging than they need to be, and also hopeful that we can get better at this, at being understanding and patient and empathic about what other people going through, and not jump to assumptions, you know, and other communities too that are not here that also have different challenges. Yeah. I feel like we just take a deep breath and let all that sharing in. I think it's a very impactful sharing on us. Yeah, a lot to take in. Just another deep breath. Okay. I think just to manage our time, and I think we did say 5:30 and all that. And if you need to go at exactly 5:30, please do that in case it overruns by a little while. But we heard a lot of little things about what we can do, little things, big things that we each can do and get messages out. I'm actually tempted just to hear if there's anyone here who heard anything else that you think people can do, because we're going to transition Tiffany's going to share a little bit about a pledging wall. So they're like things that we can do. But just anyone else quickly share something you heard in the room of that. So kind of transitions into that space. So, you know, Siwei just mentioned about being more understanding, empathic, we're treating people as humans and everything. So just really quick, anyone else hear anything to share before we move into the pledging part?
I don't have a particular thing but I think that everyone is already applying so much kindness by listening.
Okay.
And I'm very glad already. I think that, you know, like even this meeting itself has actually influenced the way that, you know, like how am I going to be tomorrow, and how my organization is going to structure in the future as well. So just continue to doing so, you know, be kind, listen, and yeah, just take time and give space to ourselves and each other.
That's
Yes,
beautiful.
exactly.
Thanks, Al.
Thank
I
you.
thought you said in the beginning that you were like a bit anxious. Doesn't sound like it. And this is a really silly, corny thing, but I feel like it would be nice for what Al shared about how if this few hours has changed you in some way, you know, it's not just about what we do, but who we are. Can you like go to the reactions and put any symbol that represents how you feel about just having this experience? Could be a love or thumbs up, whatever. I think it'd be nice to see that. I don't think it's just about what, oh, okay, there we go, Remy. It's beautiful. Everybody take a picture in your mind of this screen. All right.
Can I add something more?
Yes, please. Go ahead, Toss, and then we'll go to the wall.
Thanks, everyone, for your very long time in this weekend. I just want to share one thing that sometime the members of public comes up and asking question that how could we help migrant community, or how could we reach out the migrant workers or the people who are actively working on the community. So on that point, I want to share that keep look at your surrounding. There would be you can found out someone who is a migrant worker, maybe cutting the grasses of your HDB block, cleaning your HDB block, or building some new buildings surrounding you. So migrant workers are uh, surrounding all your places. So go and say hi, make friends, try to understand them, try to know their story, how they lead their life actually. Because I know how much I feel lonely last time when I was relocated here on first time, like few years ago. So migrant workers are really alone. So we need some support. And during this pandemic, we have seen that Singaporeans from all walks of life comes up with their kindness, their support, they help, they donated a lot of things. Even we raises millions of money to support the migrant workers. So that's so grateful, and uh, just comes up with your small act of kindness and your gratitude, and sometimes be thankful to the migrant brother surrounding you. Uh, that's all. Just I'm also trying to focus on that point to bridge the gap in between locals and migrant workers, just making them feel like appreciated. That's all.
Thanks
Thank
so
you,
much,
everyone.
Thanks, Tas, for sharing. And in case you're not familiar with this, there's a number of people across Singapore that one of my neighbors is one of them that collects their whole house. Their flat is filled with masks and sanitizers and food and laundry detergent. So if you're moved to do that, and if you're not sure where, let us know. Maybe we'll put that in the follow-up email, because then they go out and share that. So thanks so much, Tasu. Amazing what you've been doing, what you've been sharing.
Hi,
I'm going to
Douglas.
ask
Can I
one.
just
Yes.
share
So
something? So
Zoe,
sorry.
back to yeah.
Yeah.
No. I was going to share it back to you before we start to wrap up. Yes.
So I just want to share like some of the initiative you're having, because we are doing some befrienders. So I'm just going to share my screen. Yeah. We are, because some of right now due to COVID, we are unable to run our program face to face, and a large group of people of Asia actually fall out from the program. So we are looking for dedicated volunteers. We are looking for dedicated volunteers to support this befriending program one-to-one, and just give them a visit and find out how they are doing and how they are coping. And if you are interested, or you know of anyone who are interested to be in this program, you can let us know, and you can email us, or you can also follow us on Facebook for more information. Yeah. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Xue. And this is a reminder for anyone here, whether you're on the panel, a speaker or a facilitator, or anyone, if you have resources or any sources, can you please let us know? Because Tiffany has already put together starting to put together an email, a follow-up here with hopefully Bing's poem, some of these other resources. Ihan, if you want to share your slides about all the different technology, that would be great. So thank you so much. Tiffany, you want to take us through the pledge, and then after that, we'll wrap up our day?
Yeah, hello everybody. Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just assume people can hear me. Okay, so now it's time for our activity. Hopefully everyone will be able to participate. So if you see the slide here, we have like a pledge wall. So let me show you. Okay, so if you want, you can kind of enter it right now, but I'm gonna kind of demo how you should do it. So the reason why we are having this pledging activity is number one, we want people to really feel like they want to commit to changing a small part of their life, or even like a big part. It can be really small, really big. So we have the link in the comment in the chat group, so you can go and copy and paste it into your browser. It works best with a desktop, but if you just have an iPad or phone or tablet or something, it should work as well. But it's best to have a desktop. But anyway, so that's one, is to try to get everyone to really commit to really like being an ally to marginalized communities, no matter which community you're looking at. The second one is because we want people to be inspired by different kind of acts that you can potentially do, because sometimes you don't realize, like for example, you can change something about yourself to help make the world a bit kinder, but sometimes you don't realize it. So we want to kind of encourage everyone to read from other people's pledges to see what they can do, and what they can do in the future or like right now. So let me do a demonstration for all of you. So wait, let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, so first you go to the website, which is bit.ly/AGS MH pledge. And then when you enter it, okay, give it a moment. Sometimes like the board is quite big, so you have to give it like a short while. So yeah, so when you enter the website, you'll see this and a small explanation as to what it is. And then what we are asking all of you to do is to submit your pledges, right? So okay, so for example, I give 3 examples just to help people, like, you know, make it really clear what it's about. So for example, so in order to start making a pledge, oh, I see some people are already making pledges, that's amazing. So in order to start, you have to click the pink color button at the bottom right of this board. And then you'll have this where you can start putting I pledge to blah blah blah. So for the header, like try to put like I pledge to blah blah blah. And the thing is about this is that what is interesting is that you can use multiple mediums to share your thoughts. So for example, let me just add one just so I can show all of you. So for example, if you want to add a photo, you can press this and you can add a photo. If you want to add a video, you can use all sorts of mediums. It's really, really cool. Or if you want to add a link or something. So for example, I have here that I want to pledge to learn basic sign language and take up courses. For example, you can put your name, or you can don't put your name. It's fine. So I mean, of course, then I want to share like Lily's sign language course. For example, I can link it down here, and when you click it here, someone else can find out more about Lily's workshops. So yeah, so you can definitely like interact with the wall. So for example, if someone had like, I want to take basic sign language, but they haven't put like where you can take sign language, for example, and you know about Lily's course, you can reply to them and be like, hey, you know, I found this course from Lily that you can take. So you can like kind of add on to the other people's pledges and other people's whatever they're saying. So yeah, you can also share links. And if you share a video, please caption it or like summarize what is in the video, just for our deaf friends and to make it more accessible for our deaf friends. So for example, you can, oh, what I roughly said in this video is this. So it doesn't have to be like, you know, word for word, but at least like try to tell people what's in the what you said in the video. So you can take a video of yourself, which I did a week ago. So yeah, so in general, this is the board and it's going to be up, and you can come back to it. So it's going to be public, it's going to be open. So I just want people to kind of fill it up, you know, and everything. So yeah, so this is the Padlet board. You can share it with your friends and you can put more than one pledge. So you can submit multiple pledges as well. And you can read other people's pledges too. So I think we'll give everyone some time to submit all your pledges. And if you have any issues, you can just let us know when it comes to submissions of the, yeah, I see that more people are submitting. I'm so happy. That's amazing. Yeah, feel free to submit multiple pledges as well. It doesn't have to be for a particular community. I mean, that would be great if you can kind of specify which community you really want to pledge towards. But you know, let's say if you listen to someone else saying something today and it has inspired you, you can definitely put it down as well. So yes, please participate in this if you can. I'm just gonna leave it up for a while. And you can read other people's pledges as well. So yeah, just to spotlight Lily's sign language class as well, which is why I put her course here. I'm not sure if she has spoken or she has discussed it in the room, But yeah, please go and check out her courses, which I will also send to everyone via email. Yeah, but so you can definitely add to it if you know of other resources as well. Thank you so much for participating in this. Okay, so I guess we'll give everyone about another few more minutes to really populate this board. And I highly encourage everyone to do it, even if you feel like you don't know exactly what you really want to do. But maybe you can just start with something really simple, something that you heard today. It can be really anything. Like I pledge to, ask people for their pronouns. I pledge to not assume someone's pronouns. I pledge to, educate myself more on eco-anxiety or anything like that. It can be super, super simple. Doesn't have to be anything complicated. Yeah.
Go and appreciate nature tonight.
Yeah, or you can be like, oh, I pledge to you can even do something that is like kind of simple, but at the same time, it can be a one-off kind of thing to be like, I pledge to donate to home. I pledge to donate to a migrant worker charity or organization, or I pledge to, it can be something that you're like, or I pledge to, say hi and say thank you to like the workers that are near my house or like near my home, and get to know them better, something like that. So it can be literally anything that you really feel like you can do in your own capacity. Or if you want something bigger, you can be like, I pledge to start up like a new initiative to support the mental health crisis for migrant workers, for example, anything like that. So yeah, so you can think a bit more about what you want to pledge.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
The mental health clinic at IMH and the gender clinic in IMH are right at the same building. So there are times when I bring my friend to the clinic because they are too afraid to go themselves. And there are times when they accompany me to the gender clinic so that I don't feel so lonely too. Yeah, that's all. I think that what is nice is that I think when people pledge, then other people will pledge to help you too sometimes too.
Nice.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, the things that like doesn't have to. That's why it doesn't have to be anything big. It can be people around you as well, like your friends who have invisible disabilities, for example, or like like not assume things about people, or if you're trans friends or anything like that. It's kind of all about people around you as well. So, or to be more sensitive to other people's needs or anything like that. So I'm really glad to see that more and more people are populating this board. It's going to be up, so we will also be kind of sharing this publicly, so other people can come and see this as well. It also will show like what you have learned from this session as well, I guess, in a sense. Yeah, thank you so much for really
Thanks.
doing this.
Tiffany.
Yeah.
So I also noticed that a bunch of folks, so just say really quickly in case for those of you who have done your pledge, and just in the chat, there's also lots of people posting different community events, sets of slides, all kinds of stuff while you're doing that. All right, Tiffany, I think over to you, back to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So wait. Let me just. Okay. So I'm gonna stop screen sharing first. Okay. So thank you everyone for listening, and you can continue pledging the thing. But before you go, please help us fill up this feedback form. It'll be really, really valuable. And one thing is that there'll be a section where you're able to tell people no to tell us what are some of the strengths of your speakers in the room or your moderators or anything, and we'll be sending these like feedback and compliments and like your kind of like words of appreciation to the speakers themselves. So please do fill this up if you can. It's really short. I think it's like less than 5 minutes. You'll be able to finish it. It's also anonymous, so feel free to kind of just use this to feedback to us. more things that you feel can be improved on. But also, if you're interested, please like our social media pages. You can just you can just go to, let me send it to the main group chat, like the please follow our social media page. Let me just send our link tree there. Okay, so you can go to this link tree. All our social medias are there. If you want to get to know more about events, more about us, you want to continue the conversations that we have been having today. So please go to this link, and you can like us on Facebook, you can follow us on Facebook, you can go to our Instagram. We have lots of things going on, and with lots of conversations that are happening. If you like whatever we are doing, please do support us by just following us on our social media platforms. And this is going to be a recurring series, so if you want to know what's the next one going to be, you can follow us to find out more. I see more and more people are kind of populating the chat with all these resources, and do not worry, we'll send it to all of you via email, so you don't have to worry. But I thank all of the people who are sharing. It's wonderful, and I really hope that this session has really inspired you to want to change a little bit about yourself, to really make the world a bit kinder and more inclusive. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Can I ask, is there like an online page for all of us to share the resources?
I mean, for now, we don't have online page for now, but we're gonna have a blog post. We're gonna have a blog post that I'll be writing. So all these resources will be inside the blog post as well. And you can share the blog post then, I guess, with the resources. So there will be a blog post to kind of tell everyone what happened today and what happened in the different rooms. And all these resources would be put there as well. Other than all these resources shared in the emails that will be sent out to all the participants. But other than that, it will be in the blog post. So
I would appreciate it if it was like consolidated. It's also much better for
yeah,
people to get.
it's so much better. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no worry. I'll try to consolidate all of them.
Thank you.
No problem. No worry.
So just to, I guess, to wrap it up, I just want to say a big thank you and just in awe of the team from A Good Space, who creates such a good space. So which is Tiffany and Remy and Vincent. So I don't know if you want to clap or put up a thing, but what they do is even this idea of doing this came from the three of them having a conversation and saying, how can we create more connections across society? So a big kudos to them. Yes, I think whoever's behind putting that in. So I just really want to thank the three of you. And then I think to all of us, I love that we created a session that each of us feels like we are enriched, that we are better, we're, I would say, better, more expanded, more loving, more empathic human beings just for being here. That's I think a beautiful thing about our time together. And then we'll do what we do, right, when we go out of here and contribute in whatever way we find. As Tiffany said, little things, big things, we're all just going to build some momentum and keep it going. So again, kudos to everyone for spending the afternoon. And